All right, guys, we are live. Today is Thursday, the 8th of February, and I got a great show for you. We got the press secretary coming out. America chose Hezbollah leaders, Houthis, and more war going on with China. Got some space area for you. We don't even get to go into the news. I got so much news. I spent like 2 hours looking up all the things I wanted to talk about. Now we got this bitch coming out on time. That's not very black of you, Karine. Way to fucking go and support white supremacy by being on time. What's going on, guys? It's me, Space McGee, your favorite cartoon nerd with the news, and I'm back at it again, doing my thing. We got the press secretary about to come out. Only 5 minutes late. That's amazing. That's a first, I think. I think that's the actual first. We got Peter Ducey in the front row. Yeah, I think that the press corps is shocked by how early she's coming out. There's like empty seats and shit. They're all still taking their seat because they're used to her being like a half hour late. Now, today at 4, the president will be coming out. Supposedly he's going to give a press conference. I don't think he will.
Smells like a chimney. Fireplace. Good afternoon, everybody.
I think that's.
I just have really one quick thing at the top, and then we'll get going with all of your questions.
Oh, no, wait,
so, as you all know, this afternoon, the president looks forward to seeing Leader Jeffries, Chair Aguilar, and other top leaders and members of the House Democratic Caucus. You can expect to hear the president talk about our shared focus on delivering important progress for the American people, from rebuilding America with record jobs, small businesses, economic growth, and rising wages.
Actually, Joe Biden has only created less than 2.5 million jobs, which is actually one of the worst performing job numbers. One of the worst performers in recent history. So, yeah.
To protecting and expanding access to health care and taking on big pharma. To taking historic action to combat climate change, gun violence, and efforts to roll back our fundamental freedoms. And that,
right. They're talking about gun control and climate change, and then say that we're the ones trying to roll back their freedoms, right? When it literally says that you have the right to keep and bear arms. When it literally says that the government shall not infringe, right? No. Nowhere in the Constitution does it give you the right to kill your baby, right? Nowhere, right? In fact, because it's not explicitly listed as a right in the Constitution, that means the federal government has no say, right? Right? You guys want to talk about the Constitution and then try to usurp it and take our guns away so you can make us all slaves.
Stark contrast to what House Republicans are focused on. Right now, they're sowing chaos, undercutting our national security, and playing political games.
You're the ones playing political games. I just sat and watched an hour-long Supreme Court audio-only feed. That's a bunch of bullshit, right? It's about to be thrown out, right? This whole Trump can't be on the ballot, all that's gone. All that's gone, right? Fucking, oh, what's going on, everyone? Hey, let me just give quick shout-outs. Who do we got here? We got Girl Gone Dog. We got Michael King. We've got Holy Harlot. And we've got Turning Guns, Can Do Andrew. Why won't he talk about the Super Bowl interview? Because he doesn't want to do the Super Bowl interview. I mean, what sense would it make for the president to talk about the Super Bowl interview that he's too incompetent and disheveled and honestly dilapidated to conduct, right? He can't even do an interview. He couldn't take 3 minutes of non-pre-approved questions, right? The only questions that the president will take are ones that his people have already written answers out for him to ineptly read and fucking smash all the words together into one long word that just runs on forever.
As the president said earlier this week, Republicans have to decide who do they serve. The president and House Republicans know who they work for. We are aware. The president is very aware. House Democrats are very aware. And that is the American people. With that, we have the Admiral back in the briefing room who is going to give us an update on the Middle East and take your questions. Here you go, Admiral.
Actually, I don't have an
opening
statement. I'll save you that. So we'll just go right to questions.
All right, here we go.
Sorry to bring you back up. But you bounded very quickly.
That's a nice fucking suit.
Thanks, Admiral. Can you talk about whether the administration has a reaction to Prime Minister Netanyahu's plans to deploy the Israeli military into Rafah? And is the administration sending any warnings to the Israeli?
What the fuck does Kirby know about what the Israelis are going to do? Hey, Kirby, do you have any information about the Martians?
The government against doing so, considering the humanitarian catastrophe that the UN said that this would cause?
Well, with the caveat that I always use, that we'll let the Israelis speak to their military operations and any potential future military operations. I can tell you we've seen no plans that would convince us that they are about to or imminently going to conduct any kind of major operations in Rafah. I think you all know more than 1 million Palestinians are sheltering in and around Rafah. That's where they were told to go. There's a lot of displaced people there, and the Israeli military has a special obligation as they conduct operations there or anywhere else to make sure that they're factoring in protection for innocent civilian life, particularly civilians that were pushed into southern Gaza by operations further north, Khan Yunis and North Gaza. I could tell you that absent any full consideration of protecting civilians at that scale in Gaza, military operations right now would be a disaster for those people, and it's not something that we would support.
The Israeli military has also detained 3 U.S. citizens during Secretary Blinken's current trips. One woman in the West Bank on Monday and 2 brothers in Gaza this morning, and that's according to the Israeli military and family members of those people. Does the White House have a reaction to that?
Well, Ukraine killed American journalists just a few weeks ago inside of Ukraine, right? Yeah. Well, wow, the Israelis arrested American citizens. Yeah, are they going to murder them in prison?
Just processing this information, and so we want to know more about the reasons here, and I'm confident that our ambassador Jack Lew is looking into this. Obviously, this is the kind of thing we take very seriously. So we'll be talking to our Israeli counterparts and trying to get information, more context here about.
Well, I want to make a correction. On the last show, I said we were sending $12 billion to Gaza. My bad. It's only $1.2 billion. I was off by a factor of 10. My bad on that.
What happened?
So, John, has Israel factored in protection of civilians in Rafah?
Well, again, Steve, we haven't seen we've seen no indications that there's that there's operational planning, or at least planning at the level of specificity that tells us an operation, a major ground operation around Rafah is imminent. So we just haven't seen a plan for it. Any such plan, when you have more than 1 million folks that have been displaced down there, any such plan would have to factor in. A responsible military plan would factor in making sure that you can protect those civilians. And as I said, given the circumstances and the conditions there that we see right now, we think a military operation at this time would be a disaster for those people.
Prime Minister Netanyahu rejected the Hamas proposal on hostages. What happens now?
How about now?
Look, nothing's done until everything's done, and negotiations are ongoing. And as you heard Secretary Blinken say just yesterday in the region, that we're optimistic that we'll still be able to get a deal in place that will allow for an extended pause, allow for more aid to get in, and allow for a maximum number of hostages to get out. We're still working at this.
There we go.
Literally around the clock.
That should be better.
We're optimistic we can get there.
On that, just to follow up, the President had said the other day that the response from Hamas seems to be a little over the top. Can you explain a little more about what part of that he was talking about?
I'd really rather not get into the details and the parameters of the deal that's being discussed. As you know, there was an Israeli counterproposal put forward, and then Hamas responded. As I understand it, the Israelis are looking at the Hamas response right now and working their way through that. So the last thing I'm going to do is get ahead of them. And
slightly better, not much. Hold on.
But as the President said, as Secretary Blinken said, there were parts of the Hamas response which were very positive, and there were parts which
good.
We believe, and our Israeli counterparts believe, need a little bit.
I'll just give it a tiny little bit of
boost.
There
was the U.S. strike in Baghdad that killed the senior leader, Kataib Hezbollah, which the U.S. has said is responsible behind the drone attack in Jordan. Has the U.S. concluded the retaliatory strikes for the attack in Jordan?
Oh, there's your problem, Space. There, that should be much better. That should be much better.
John,
there we go.
You haven't seen any
now I'm clipping.
For the IDF.
Clipping everywhere. There we go. That should be much better.
Any formal planning to do that.
Okay. Has the U.S. communicated everything that you just said about
That's a good level.
civilians to
there we go.
Israel?
Secretary Blinken, in his meetings with the Israeli leaders and the Prime Minister and the War Cabinet, made clear our concerns.
And did that come with any conditions with supporting Israel?
There we go. There we go. That should be good.
Offering support resources in the future if that protection did not happen?
He made clear our concerns, and I'm certainly reiterating them here from the podium. We're going to continue to make sure that Israel has what it needs to defend itself against Hamas. A big part of the supplemental request that we submitted back in October, and which I know is still being debated.
Hey, what's up, blind dude?
Has money in there specifically for Israel's security.
Thank you. Yes,
all my levels talk about the retaliatory strikes in Iraq. What's the U.S. response to the outrage from some Iraqi officials that called it a clear-cut assassination operation that disregarded lives of civilians. And what's the U.S. response to any political pressure in Iraq to expel the U.S. forces there?
I'll let Mr. al-Sudani talk about whatever political pressure he's under. I would tell you that we fully respect Iraq's sovereignty. And our troops are there at the invitation of the Iraqis.
Yeah, we respect Iraq's sovereignty. That's why we bombed them, assassinated their president, on a phony, trumped-up war about nothing that ever really happened, and now we've got a bunch of armies inside of them because we respect their sovereignty, right? Oh, and we installed a puppet government because the one thing we do when we respect people's sovereignty is invade them, assassinate their president, install a puppet government, and then stuff them full of American military bases. Because that's how you respect someone's sovereignty.
Government to as they continue to battle against a still viable ISIS threat. We're having discussions with the Iraqis.
ISIS, because that's the thing.
About what that posture looks like going forward.
It's funny how ISIS was gone until Joe Biden became president again. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird?
And the validity of that mission going forward. Those discussions are ongoing. But look, if there were no attacks on our troops, who are there at the invitation of the Iraqi government, there would be no need for retaliatory strikes.
Given those discussions,
our government doesn't respect our own sovereignty. Indeed.
We have
Indeed,
we believe we have a good relationship with the Iraqi government. I'll let the Iraqis speak for their other bilateral relationships or their relationships in the region. We have a good relationship with the Iraqi government.
Yeah, that's why the Iraqis told us just to get the fuck out. They don't want us there no more.
We still believe that the advise and assist mission is something worth talking about, and
we're talking about
exploring the future of it, and I'll leave it at that.
Really quick question on Ukraine. Ukraine replaced a top military general. What's the U.S. response to that? Is that an indication that the war isn't going as Ukraine and the U.S. had hoped?
President Zelensky is the commander-in-chief of his armed forces. He gets to decide who his leadership is going to be in the military. That's what civilian control is all about. We know that, and we'll work with whoever he has in charge of his military. We'll continue to work with our Ukrainian counterparts.
Thanks, Karine. Thanks, Avril. Staying on that subject, do you have any concerns about instability in Ukraine as a result of this change at the top of the military? And also, can I ask...
Well, I mean, whoa, what the hell just happened? Dictator's gonna dictate, y'all, right? Like, I don't know what I just did. Dictators are going to dictate, right? Of course Zelensky is purging his military, right? He's about to lose the war, right? So he doesn't want any military coups popping up before he gets executed by the Russians.
Was that decision discussed with yourselves in the White House before?
Discussed?
Well, was there any discussion between President Zelensky and yourselves or with President Biden about the need for the change at the top of the Ukrainian military?
We're not concerned about Ukrainian stability as a result of this. He's the commander-in-chief. And civilian control of the military means you get to decide who your military leadership is. And he's doing that in a time of war. He should speak to that decision. I'm not aware of any discussions at high levels between U.S. and Ukrainian officials about that decision in a pre-decisional way. We talk to our Ukrainian counterparts all the time. But if the question...
Yeah, especially Joe Biden. Joe Biden talks to his Ukrainian fucking masters all the time, so long as they give 10% to the big guy.
The question is proposing that we were somehow... we had some sort of right to give it a thumbs up or thumbs down.
For the big guy, y'all.
President Zelensky's decision. So there was no requirement for the Ukrainian government to run it by us.
Thank you, Karine. So, John, if the Prime Minister of Israel, Mr. Netanyahu, said clearly yesterday that he ordered his troops to be ready to enter Rafah, why are you not taking his word at face value? Number one. And second, there was an internal report, military report, says that a fifth of the hostages in Gaza are dead already.
Oh, wow, what do you know? The hostages are dead. Oh, we've been saying that for months. What do you know? Guys, they just finally caught up to the reality that those hostages are dead, been dead, long dead, and ain't coming back.
I know you blame Hamas for taking them in the first place, but do you think that Netanyahu shares the blame too in obstructing every deal that
Tucker
could be
Putin is tonight.
Jeopardizing the life of hostages, including American hostages?
That's one of the stories we didn't get to go
question, as I said, we're just not aware of any specific planning
What's up, Steve?
for an imminent operation in Rafah, and I've already expressed our concerns about what that could look like for the Palestinian people that are there. Should it happen right now, and should it happen with no due consideration for their safety? On your second question, you're right. Hamas took the hostages. Hamas is responsible for their abduction. Hamas is responsible for any harm that comes to them.
And that means that Hamas is a bunch of murderers because those hostages are dead. Yet, the president, for some reason, wants to give him $1.2 billion. Like, that's like not even, he gave $6 billion to Iran for 4 hostages. There's like 20-something Americans. You would think that he would, it would be like $40 billion, right? I mean, isn't that what we do? We give billions of dollars to our enemies after they murder us?
Period. That's the end of it. And there was a deal in place that did manage to get a good number, dozens of hostages out over the course of a week. And since that ended, Nadia, we have been working almost nonstop to try to get another one in place. And those discussions are ongoing as we speak for an extended pause that will be longer than the week that we saw. And we're hopeful, that we're optimistic that we'll be able to get there.
I want to clear something about you said about the 2 brothers, 2 American Palestinians who have been taken by the Israeli army. What exactly are you seeking? You said you wanted to...
We're just processing these reports right now. We're obviously talking to our Israeli counterparts about this to get more information about what happened here.
I'm not sure either. I just heard tonight
we would.
that Tucker's interview is tonight.
In the West Bank was being arrested?
Same thing.
So will you update us on information about
If I have something I can share, I will, but there's also privacy considerations we have to factor into.
John, could I just parse a little bit more the Rafah statements? On the one hand, you said any military operation in a place like Rafah would have to take into consideration protection of civilians, and then you also said that any military operation in Rafah would be a disaster. So is it the U.S.'s position that there could be a military operation in Rafah that could be designed
I'm not sure
in
about
a way
his
that would
travel
be
status.
protective enough of civilians, or is the message any military operation would be impossible? Any military operation would be indefensible given the situation in Rafah now.
Again, we haven't seen.
It's a confusing question.
Haven't seen a plan here.
In terms of what
Our view is any major military operation in Rafah at this time, under these circumstances, with more than 1 million, probably more like 1.5 million Palestinians who are seeking refuge and have been seeking refuge in Rafah, without due consideration for their safety, would be a disaster, and we would not support it.
But I guess my question is, could you see a path towards due consideration for their safety that could make a military operation in Rafah now, actually work?
That's a speculative one. I'm not going to go down a hypothetical here, Michael, in terms of what
it's a very confusing question.
We have no indications that there is such planning for a major operation in Rafah. I've just said that right now, without proper planning and consideration of the innocent lives that are there, more than 1 million folks that are in Rafah, a military operation right now, without any kind of due consideration for that, would be a disaster for those people, and we would not support it.
Do you have any concern that Tucker Carlson's interview with Vladimir Putin could further erode support for Ukraine aid in the United States?
We're convinced that
they broke him. I've never seen Kirby that broke. Normally he's really slick. Look at how they broke him. They just broke John Kirby.
In the United States.
What's up, Speak No Evil?
We're convinced that there is strong bipartisan support on Capitol Hill for supporting Ukraine. And we know there's efforts now to...
Yeah, there's support on Capitol Hill, but there's not support by the American people. I think most people can see the writing on the wall and that this war is a loser, right? There's no way Ukraine can stop Russia. This is going to end the way it was always going to end. That's with a big chunk of Ukraine becoming part of Russia.
Bring something up onto the Senate floor for a vote.
We could have saved 1 million lives, right? By just, immediately, forcing Ukraine to negotiate with Russia back in 2021. So, 1 million people died for nothing. It's like World War II, World War I. It's like the Battle of the Bulge all over again.
That would have Ukraine, Israel, Indo-Pacific, and humanitarian assistance, so supplemental funding in it, and without the border. We'll let senators work that out. The president believes that support for Ukraine is critical, particularly right now, as Russia continues.
Yeah, the president also believes that the greatest threat to America is climate change. He actually said that, guys.
To try to hit their defense industrial base, continue to hit their units on that battlefront from east
no
to
shit.
South. It's vital, and he's confident that, and based on the meetings he's had with leaders on Capitol Hill and the discussions he's had, certainly.
The president also believes that Hunter Biden, the crackhead, is the smartest person that he knows.
Over recent weeks, that again, the leadership, even on the House side, the leadership is solidly in support of supporting Ukraine. Now, how they're going to be affected or impacted by a television interview, I couldn't begin to guess.
I guess I'm asking beyond just Congress, among the American people, many of whom, watch Tucker Carlson's show and how are inclined already.
Yeah, about 1% of the population definitely watches Tucker Carlson. He gets about 3 million. 30 million. I mean, I've seen him get 100 million views on Twitter, so that would be 30% of the population, roughly.
To be skeptical of American support for Ukraine, would hearing directly from Putin potentially erode that further, not just in the halls of Congress, but among the people?
The American people know well who's at fault here, and I think they know that there was no ground whatsoever for the invasion on February 22nd, 2 years ago.
Well, there was a ground for Russia to invade. Not that I'm pro-Russia. Russia bad, murder's bad, war's bad, right? But we did tell the Russians that we would not push NATO onto their borders, right? And every time we do, Putin invades a country. So yes, there was precedent and there were grounds for Russia to defend its border. Not that I agree with that what they did was right? Russia bad, Putin evil, but what I'm saying is that when you poke the bear, you expect the bear to fight back, right?
He invaded a neighboring country without provocation. Ukraine wasn't
we did provoke him, right? We were going to let Ukraine join NATO and possibly the EU, right? Those things were in direct violation with our agreements with Russia, right? So, yeah, we kind of broke our word, so Russia kind of has precedent to do what they have to do.
a threat to anybody, and the American people.
Yeah, and the Donbass region is actually Russian people, yes. And I saw a video, now, take this with a grain of salt, of a person doing like a man on the street interview, and every single person said, fuck Ukraine, we're Russians, in Donbass, right? So, those people voted, right? We talk about protecting democracies, right? And elections are sacred, right? Yeah, and until the people of Ukraine vote to join Russia, and then we're like, no, fuck that.
People understand.
Until the people of Vietnam, until the people of Korea vote for communist government, then we're like, fuck that. Until the people of Iran vote to nationalize their oil industry, and then we're like, fuck that, invade, fucking overthrow.
The American people understand what Ukraine's fighting for. And all they're asking for is our help. They're not asking for American boots on the ground. Again, I don't think the American people are going to be swayed by one single interview. And I think anybody that watches that interview, again, I haven't seen whatever's said, need to make sure remember, you're listening to Vladimir Putin. And you shouldn't take at face value.
Putin bad, we got it. Don't be a Putin puppet, guys.
Admiral, can you give us a little...
It's Putin's price hike, right? This transitory inflation is Putin's price hike. And it's safe and effective, guys. Safe and effective, right? And just because we engineered a virus to gain functions doesn't mean it was gain of function.
A little more sense of what the president plans to speak about with Chancellor Scholz tomorrow. The chancellor has said, he hopes the West sends a clear signal to Vladimir Putin, and it seems like this week gives anything but that.
They're going to talk about certainly the situation in Ukraine, no question about it. I think both leaders will reaffirm their strong support for Ukraine and finding a way to continue to help Ukraine. The chancellor said something like that before he left Berlin, actually, about finding ways for Europe to also do more to support Ukraine. I think they're going to talk about the Middle East.
Yeah, I think that it's incumbent upon Europe to do everything they can to support Ukraine, right? Because when Ukraine ultimately loses this war, and they will, Europe is next, right? Right? So there should be Germans on the ground in Ukraine. I mean, if they're really that worried about maniacal Putin invading all of Europe, right? Well, then they should be trying to stop it. This really doesn't affect us anyway.
As well.
Really, over the last 10 years, we should have been working much harder to bring Russia into the fold, right? Because now we're faced with a clear drawing line across the world map where this side is against us and this side is for us, right? It would have been nice to have one major nuclear power, one more on our side, but apparently these guys just didn't want that. They wanted to stack the odds in our enemies' favors for some reason.
And
I don't know
what the situation in Gaza looks like. What together we can do as strong allies to continue to make sure that Israel has what it needs.
No,
to
they don't pay us back. They're never going to pay us back.
Need it. And I would be surprised if they didn't also talk.
If they win, right? I think Russia has to pay for it or something. I'm not sure how that goes. I know that if you invade a country and you topple their government, you're responsible for all their debts, right? I know that.
Talk about the threats in the Red Sea to international shipping, and a lot of that international shipping affects Europe directly.
Great, thank you. Admiral, as you just mentioned, the foreign aid package.
So I guess Russia would be responsible.
A few moments ago, but it's still a long way before final passage. Some Democrats on the Hill say that they've been asking the White House to consider options to help Ukraine without their help in case that this doesn't pass at all. Is the White House considering any such options to aid Ukraine without the help of Congress?
I think I'll leave our conversations with members of Congress to those conversations and not discuss them publicly. The President believes that support for Ukraine is critical, particularly right now, and we'll continue to work with both sides of the aisle in the Senate to see what we can do to make that happen.
Is he sending any is he going to send any more direct message now as they're taking this up and now that it's advanced?
I'm not going to get ahead of the President's private conversations with members of Congress and leadership on Capitol Hill. He's been in touch with them. He will stay in touch with them.
Yeah, he's probably not going to talk about what the President said because nobody can really understand what the guy says.
Thank you, Karine. John, with everything that you said about Rafah, whether an attack is imminent or not, I noticed that what you said was that we will not support it and we will not accept it. So I guess my question is, the President has military, financial, and diplomatic leverage on Netanyahu. Why won't he use it?
I think it's not true that we haven't tried to help influence the way the Israelis have been prosecuting operations. That's just not true. We have, and they've been receptive.
I agree, Girl Gone Dog.
Lessons learned and the perspectives we shared.
What they're doing to the president is elder abuse. How they trot him out there to embarrass himself every goddamn time, right? It's hard to watch. It's humiliating to the country, and it's a form of abuse, right? It's like forcing your grandma to go to the bank and drain her bank account out so you can buy heroin, right? Right? It's like the same thing.
And again, what I said was an operation right now. First of all, we don't think it's imminent. We have no indication that one's imminent. Any operation right now, given them, more than 1 million Palestinians seeking refuge at Rafah, would be a disaster for them.
Hey, what's up, hillbilly homesteader?
Any operation that wouldn't factor in their safety and their protection, an obligation that the Israelis have, we would not support.
And on the Jordan visit next week, John, I think you did mention that the funding for UNRWA that has been suspended, that was specifically for Jordan. So can you give a little bit of a preview of whether that part on UNRWA funding and then also on refugee
I can see your chats.
Will that be discussed between the president and the king?
The reason why you can't see them is because you're blind, dude.
I don't know if the specific suspension of funding for UNRWA is going to be a matter of discussion. I mean, it's a closed matter. That money has been suspended pending the outcome of the investigations, and the Jordanians know that. It was really for it was a limited amount of money for a specific purpose in Jordan to assist Palestinians there. But I think in broad brushstrokes, the king and the president will certainly talk about what Gaza looks like post-conflict and how our counterparts and our Arab friends in the region can help build a post-conflict Gaza, or help us work towards a post-conflict Gaza that, again, meets the aspirations of the Palestinian people and give them a vote and a voice in what that looks like. And it's going to have to start with a revitalized Palestinian Authority.
And just one last question. You did mention that this is not the end of the negotiation on the temporary ceasefire, and you're optimistic. Does that mean that, can we infer from that the president believes that Netanyahu's response, whether that is his actual position or simply a public stance?
I'll let the Prime Minister speak for his comments. The President believes that this potential deal has real possibility, and he shares Secretary Blinken's optimism that we can get there. Discussions are active; they're ongoing. It's not like either side just cut everything off. It's still those conversations are still happening. And so
this is way too much Kirby.
He believes it's possible.
Come on, you don't like the Admiral coming out here and verbally swabbing your poop deck? That's what he does. He's a rear admiral. He takes it in the rear, up the poop deck.
Right, we have to take one last one. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah, last question.
You said that any responsible military operation would factor in civilians. The 27,000 civilians have been killed in Gaza during the war, many of them children. So would you characterize the current military operation as responsible? And the second question,
guy has an awesome accent.
The idea of sanctioning those in the West Bank who target Palestinians.
What is that, Scottish? I think that's Scottish.
What would your reaction be to that?
I think our actions speak louder than our words. We have imposed.
Yeah, our actions speak louder than our words. We're incompetent, illiterate, and incapable of governing a worldwide hegemonic empire.
Visa restrictions, and we have done, and we have executed sanctions on some for the cellular violence.
Oh yeah, those sanctions. How'd that work out for you by stopping Putin from invading Ukraine? How'd them sanctions work on stopping Iran from getting a nuclear bomb? Yeah, how are them sanctions working stopping China from bringing fentanyl into our country and murdering their Muslim citizens?
Our actions speak pretty loudly about what we believe about that. And as for the civilian casualties, as I've said many, many times, I'll say again, the number should be zero. Too many have been killed, too many have been wounded, and we know that too many have been displaced from their homes. And that's why we're working so hard on this humanitarian pause, getting another extended pause in place so that the level of violence can come down, so that hostages can get out safely. So that
so that the dead hostages can get out safely. Great. That's the plan. Yeah, because what we need is to safely evacuate all of the dead hostages, guys. That's why we got to stop the war, right? Because nothing will bring those hostages back to life like a ceasefire.
More humanitarian assistance can get in. Again, action speaks.
Yeah, $1.2 billion to Hamas, guys, for killing Americans. What?
Louder in words, and I think our actions and our policies that we're pursuing speak pretty loudly about where the president's priorities are.
Thank you so much. Yeah, the president. Yeah, your actions definitely speak loudly about the president's priorities. His priorities are weakening America's military power, embarrassing us on the world stage, kowtowing to China, and giving Iran $6 billion so that they could build a nuclear bomb. What a great job that this president has done, guys.
Thanks, Admiral. Okay, Sungmin.
I like the white jacket. She looks good. I'm going to give her a 6.
Attorney General Merrick Garland said the special counsel investigation into the president's handling of classified documents is complete. So can you tell us whether the president was personally briefed on the contents of the report, and if so, when and by whom?
Yeah, guys. So they investigated the president for holding top secret documents going all the way back to the 70s. Now, no senator should have any top secret documents in their house. No vice president. Like, they don't have the power to A, declassify those documents, or B, have the authority to remove those documents from a secure location, right? Now, if anyone was guilty of mishandling top secret documents, it would be the guy that has them going back for 40 years, right? But they're going to come out and say nothing to see here, guys. Now, Trump had documents from when he was president that he had the authority to declassify, but we're going to go ahead and try to charge him on that. But Joe Biden, who definitely broke the law and should be arrested for treason, no, he didn't do nothing wrong.
Don't have anything for you at this time. I would refer you to the Department of Justice or the White House, obviously the White House counsel and our colleagues there for specifics on the question you just asked. I just don't have anything to share at this time.
The White House counsel hasn't said those specifics. Is that something you can get back to us with? Whether the
honestly, I would. You can just reach out directly to them.
Just reach out.
As you know, my colleagues there have been pretty responsive, so I would really.
Yeah, way more responsive than you are. Listen to you. You won't even answer a basic question. Not one. Not one.
To them specifically.
And multiple times this week, the president in his public remarks talked about having conversations in 2021 with European leaders who were deceased at that time.
Oh, is she going to shut this question down like she did the last time it was asked to her? Let's find out.
Can you give us an explanation into why the president was referring to those people in those conversations and what exactly happened there?
So I know there's been a lot of focus on this. I want to just step back for a second and just kind of think really kind of top level of what the president was talking about when he was having, as he tells.
Yeah, please tell us what the guy is talking about, because we can never understand. It just sounds like gibberish and like grandpa's telling stories again.
The story about having these conversations with world leaders, which are obviously important conversations. He was underlying the January 6th events.
Oh, you mean Orange Man Bad? Okay, got it.
2021, what happened, the message that it sent around the globe.
Don't forget to like the video, guys.
To our leaders, to world leaders, how dangerous it is, our democracy, how important democracy was.
Democracy? How important it is? How important democracy is? That's why we're trying to get Trump kicked off the ballot and arrested so that he can't be president. Right? Because democracy is important, guys. That's why we're trying to build a one-party system with nobody to oppose our evil, evil, evil agenda.
Continues to be, obviously, and he was asked. He was asked when he was, after he was elected, when he went to the G7.
Yeah, I'm sure he was really asked.
It was something that we were saying throughout that trip, America is back. America's back. And what was asked of him was for how long. And that whole story is just to reiterate really land, obviously, how important what we saw that event, how important it is to continue to fight for our democracy, but also how
what? Why is it that none of these people can speak? Like, do they all get their tongue operated on? Have they all been given Novocaine? Like, what's going on?
How important it is, the United States, their leadership, our leadership here in this.
Who the fuck is DeMarcus?
So,
I don't know.
He never thought. This is someone who was a senator. He was a vice president. He has a relationship with some of these world leaders for decades, and he never thought that he would hear that. And so you hear him say that, you hear him talk about it.
Yeah, but why can't he remember who he has talked to? That the question isn't what was the president saying. The question is, why can't the president tell a story without mixing up everything and getting everything wrong, right? Why can't the president read off of a teleprompter without, like, mispronouncing every word and sandwiching syllables together that don't belong?
Another part of it, too, is how unprecedented that moment was.
What's unprecedented is the amount of gaslighting and obfuscation on display right now.
On January 6th, when 2,000 person mob went to the Capitol because they were lied to.
Yeah, 2,000 CIA and FBI agent mob, right? Like, oh, yeah, there were 2,000 federal government employees there pretending to be fucking outraged right-wingers, right?
About the results of the election, because they wanted to overturn the election. So just really want to make sure that we get that we understand why the reason he was...
Okay, we understand, Karine. Now tell us, why was he saying that he was talking to people that have been dead for 20 years? And then the very next day said he was talking to a completely different dead person.
Telling that story. And look, as it relates to the names and what he was trying to say. Look, many people, elected officials, many people, they can.
She's just as bad. This whole administration is like driving on autopilot, right? They know that not one of them can like formulate a sentence, right? Even when the answer is written down right in front of them. This is amazing.
Speak sometimes, right? And look, let me give you a couple of examples. On Sunday, Speaker Johnson said Iran instead of Israel. This happens. Joe is not here. There are many times I call Joe from USA Today Michael. I'm sure he doesn't appreciate that. He doesn't. I've apologized to him many times. Now I call him JoJo because the president calls him JoJo. And also Sean Hannity himself has said Jason Chaffetz when he met Matt Gaetz. I mean, it happens. It really happens. Rick Scott even confuses saving.
It does happen on occasion, right? But why is this a consistent, predictable, and ongoing problem for the president?
Saving Medicare money with cutting Medicare, pardon me. And so this happens. It happens to all of us, and it is common.
Yeah, but why does it happen to him every single time on every given instance, right? Like, no matter what he's talking about, no matter who he's talking about, he could never get their name right. He could never get what time it was, when it happened. None of those things right, ever.
But I do want to make sure we don't forget what the overall arching kind of theme, what he is trying to say about our leadership on the global stage.
Yeah, our leadership is a fucking joke. That's what we're talking about. Your guy is embarrassing the entire country every single day. And he's going to be out in a little over an hour, and I can predict that he's going to thank people. He's going to say, where is X? I just saw them. Oh, they're not here. They're dead or something. Oh, my daddy used to tell me, Joey, you just need a little bit of breathing room. Like it's going to keep happening, right? I can predict all the dumb things he's going to say.
All those people you mentioned, yourself included, are a lot younger than the president, and obviously as he's heading into the election season, one of the things that people are talking about in polls is a concern about his age.
Yeah.
What do you say then?
Not his age. It's not his age. It's his condition, right? You could be 100 years old and be as sharp as a tack, right? And feisty as fuck, right? And outpace all your grandkids, right? Run around with the grandkids all day, right? And you could be 45 and, can't even make it up a flight of stairs or remember where you are. It has nothing with age. It's about condition. And the president is in a terrible condition.
To Americans who have that concern, and they see 3 times in just a couple days the president getting the name of a leader wrong and referencing somebody who is deceased.
So look, again, as you just stated in your question to me, I just laid out other leaders in their community or elected officials who have done the same. So it is not uncommon. Look,
no, it's not uncommon for the president to fuck up everything, to be incapable of speaking. That's what's not uncommon. If it were once in a while, oh yeah, we know what he meant. But we don't even know what the fuck he's talking about half the time. Karine?
As it relates to what the American people feel or what the American people think, I want to be really careful because you did ask me that question in a context of the election, so I can't really speak to the election, any upcoming election, but I can say...
Bitch, you can't speak to anything, can you? I mean, you probably can, but you never do, right? Why can't you just answer a simple question with a simple answer, right? Right? Why does it always gotta be, well, what I think you're talking about is this, or it sounds like what you're trying to say is something that is totally, I'm just gonna make up now and say what I want to say.
This is a president that has had a very successful 3 years.
No. This is a president that has had 2 brain surgeries and brain aneurysms, right? This is a president that has fallen up a flight of stairs, right? Up the stairs. He falls up the stairs, defying gravity and physics, right? Right? Like, this is a president that is embarrassing this country every day. That's what we're talking about, not whatever bullshit you're about to spill.
When you look at the
Get your waders on, boys!
You look at COVID, all the crises that he had to deal with when he walked into the...
And he failed on every single one, right? Oh, we're going to beat the virus. No, we're not. The virus is here to stay.
This administration, that was done by someone who has experience, understands relationship on the other side of Pennsylvania, understands what it means to bring...
On the other side of Pennsylvania. So he understands leadership in Harrisburg, guys, in Pittsburgh. He understands... On the other side, you mean East Palestine, Ohio? That's the other side of Pennsylvania, and he hasn't been there.
Together to get things done, understands where the people are.
No joke.
What they're feeling and how to deliver. And that's why you see an economy. All the data shows, and even experts, and some of you have written how the economy has come back. A lot of that is because of what this president has done. So look, his leadership, his experience, we believe, speaks for itself. And I think that's what is important. And I hope that the American people see that.
We do, and that's why we're concerned about this country. It's because the president's inability to make a decision that is right is completely obvious to everyone, right?
On the documents question, just to try it, the president did say last January that when it comes to his handling of classified documents, there's no there. Is that still the case?
Well, I'm not gonna get ahead, certainly, of what is going to come out. I'm just going to be really mindful here. I'm just not going to get into at this point right now. It would be me making a hypothetical comment because we just don't have anything at this time, obviously, but I'm gonna, any specifics, any details or anything related to that, obviously, as it relates to our comments from here, would have to come from the White House counsel. I just don't have anything to share at this time. Go ahead, Kel.
When you're in meetings with the president, how often does he confuse names like we've seen him do?
I have not seen him do that.
You're a fucking liar too, bitch. He probably calls you Carrie.
It was a pretty landmark Supreme Court day today. How closely was the president tracking that? Did he watch it on TV?
So I'm going to be really careful. Obviously, it's an ongoing legal case, so can't comment on an ongoing legal case as it relates to your question about the president. He's been busy all day, obviously delivering.
He's been busy all day sniffing little girls and injecting amphetamines.
And working on the business for the American people. I just don't have anything on his cable watching schedule today.
Not to belabor the point, but how would you describe the president's overall health?
His overall health?
Yes.
I mean, that is, I mean, you see him for yourself just like I see him for myself. I am not a medical doctor, cannot comment on his overall health. Obviously, you've heard directly from his physician. He's put out a detailed memo and document on the president's health. You saw him do that.
Whoever's given this president a clean bill of health should be fired and barred from ever practicing medicine again.
Last year, he's going to have another annual physical, which we will be transparent, just like we have been the last 2 years, and share that with all of you. It's just not for me to comment on the president's medical health.
Joe calls her Mammy.
A couple times in the past few days, the president has said that he does not support abortion on demand. How does he define abortion on demand, and does that mean there are restrictions that he does want to see?
So look, I mean, the president has always been consistent when it comes to...
The president, the only thing consistent about the president is his ability to be wrong about everything.
That particular question, which is, look, he has been really clear.
Everything I say is solid gold. Thank you, brother.
Restoring the protections of Roe in the federal law. And look, you know, as you all know, for nearly 50 years, Roe was a constitutional law. It was the law of the land. And it gave the right for women and their doctors to make decisions about their own health care. And that is what we are going to continue to fight for, to make sure that Roe becomes, asking Congress to act, make sure it becomes the law of the land. But look, he believes, and he's been unequivocal about it, that he supports restoring the protections of Roe in the federal law.
What does abortion on demand mean to him? Because while Roe was the law of the land, there were restrictions enacted.
Yeah, there was what was it, the first trimester? You couldn't get an abortion after the first trimester?
In many states, waiting periods, other things like that, are those things he's comfortable with? And there is a concern, I think, from abortion advocates that using language like abortion on demand is repeating a conservative talking point that they view as stigmatizing.
What I can say is, and he has said...
That's because, and you know why? It's because the majority, like 80% of Americans, do not support abortions past the first trimester. Like 80%, right? Right? Most of Americans agree that there should be options for young girls and victims of incest and all those things, right? Where the mom's life is at risk, all those things. Almost everybody agrees on that, right? And almost everybody agrees that there should be restrictions on how long you can be in your pregnancy before an abortion is off the table, right?
Said this multiple times. He believes in restoring the protections of Roe, what is in Roe, what has been written in Roe, what has been laid out, the provisions in Roe. For
we are, Andrew. We are.
Back in 2022 by the Supreme Court. That's what he believes, and that's what I would point you to. I don't have anything else to add beyond that. Go ahead.
Karine,
I don't have anything to add because I'm a moron.
That the officials who are meeting with Arab Americans today take away from those meetings in Michigan.
So let me just say a couple things at the top, is that this is part of the Biden-Harris ongoing outreach to Muslim and Arab American communities. So as you all know, and I made this comment last week, senior officials travel to Michigan.
D for dementia.
To hear directly from the community, to hear directly from community leaders on a range of issues that are important to them, obviously as well, not just them, but their families, including the conflict that we're currently seeing in Israel. This is a private meeting. We want to give them the space.
We're searing the conflict in Israel, guys. Putting a nice sear on it, getting it ready for the oven. Oh, wait, no, wait, that's not right.
But we want to hear directly from them. We want to hear their concerns. We believe it's important for these leaders to be able to speak directly to officials in the White House.
Yeah, well, we believe it's important for the president to be able to speak directly. Full stop.
No, we have been consistent with having outreach to the Arab and Muslim, Arab American and Muslim American leaders and communities, obviously. Also the Jewish community as well, Jewish American community. That has been going on for some time, and so we are.
Oh my God, she's as bad as Joe Biden.
To this conversation, I want to be really careful.
Still better than Psaki, though.
To have that privacy.
You're stressing repeatedly that meeting or any of the other ones can affect or change U.S. policy.
I want to be really careful. These meetings, folks are going to speak in a way that they have the space for it to be open and honest. We want to make sure that there's privacy in these meetings. It is critical, it is crucial for these participants to be able to do that.
That's true, blind dude. Abused do become abusers. Some of them do anyway.
From the president numerous times. Obviously, we mourn the innocent lives that have been taken in this conflict. And we've said that in Palestinian lives and also in Israel as well. We mourn those lives, but I want to be mindful and careful. I don't want to lay out a specific agenda or what is going to be next steps. Obviously, they're going to have those conversations.
Well, perhaps more broadly then, what is the White House's message to Arab Americans who are frustrated with President Biden's Middle East policy and they want to see him break with Netanyahu and declare a ceasefire?
So look,
go fuck yourself.
Our message has been always very clear.
Oh wait, no, that's my message.
Working very hard around the clock. You've heard from the Admiral, you've heard from the President, you've heard from the National Security Advisor very recently, Jake Sullivan. He's working very, very hard, and his team is. And you saw Secretary.
Oh, he's working so hard, little Jakey.
To stop the suffering of innocent.
I mean, he's failing at what he's doing, but God, he's trying so hard, guys. Let's just give him a medal just for trying. I mean, he's failing, but he's trying. He's working so hard, guys.
Palestinians, and who have been caught in the middle of this conflict between Israel and Hamas. And so we mourn the innocent lives that have been taken here. And so what we are trying to do. And again,
all 1,200 Jews that were killed.
From the Secretary and also our Security Council team, is that we are doing everything that we can to get...
Trump was right. Of course Trump was right. Trump was almost as right as Alex Jones. And that's saying something.
Humanitarian pause, so that we can get these hostages home to their families and their friends, to make sure that some of them are Americans as well, when to get them home, and get that much needed critical humanitarian aid into Gaza. And that's what we want to see, and that is our message. Okay.
Fuck Gaza. Parking lot. Glass parking lot.
Leaders in Michigan when he was there last week.
Well, as you know, that was a campaign trip, so I can't speak to what the needs of the campaign were. I would have to obviously refer you back to the campaign and why it was set up in that way. Obviously, it was a very productive trip. So not going to get into the specifics of the last time he was in Michigan, but we have been consistent and have had constant communication with leaders in the community. This is something that we have done throughout since this conflict began on October 7th. The President has met with Arab Americans and also Muslim American leaders, and we are going to continue to have that engagement as we're doing today.
Examples of those meetings and that kind of engagement?
I mean, you know of one of them that the president has had specifically. You know of also a Jewish American a meeting that he's had not too long ago. I just don't have anything else to read out to you, but you are aware that the president has.
Hey, remember that one time? You guys all remember? Oh, wait, what's going on? Hold on. Something's wrong. Something ain't right here. Hold on, I gotta restart SpaysE, I think. Hold on. He crashed. Poor SpaysE crashed. Oh, he crashed. There we go. Alright, we're good. Alright, let's roll.
Has been consistently meeting with them.
Has the president spoken to families of the Marines that were killed this week in Calgary?
Obviously, our hearts go out to the just devastating loss of those 5 Marines and their,
poor bastards,
to their families and to their friends and the people who love them. I don't have a call to read out from the president, but obviously they are in our.
The president's too busy checking his watch to worry about dead Marines.
Has the president had more than one meeting with Arab American leaders?
So we don't read out every meeting, obviously.
Referencing the one.
Yeah, she keeps trying to make it sound like it's a bigger deal than it is. Right? Now she's getting called out on a lie right here. Let's watch her wiggle like a worm.
So
I know, because that one we did read out, and you all were aware of that. But the president has had, and his White House officials have had regular communication and contact. We just don't read out every.
Okay, there's 6 minutes left.
Every meeting that the president has, but we have had regular engagement with Muslim Americans and also Arab American leaders, and obviously as well Jewish American leaders as well.
And then on the southern border, can you talk about what executive actions the administration is considering?
So let me just say this at the top because I think it's really important, and the president, I think, laid this out brilliantly the other day about what,
I doubt it. What the president lays out is a big steaming pile of bullshit. I mean, I think it's bullshit. I don't really understand what he's saying.
What this time has all been about, right? We made sure the president directed his team, and you've heard us say that many times, but it is true, for 2 months, directed his team to have a conversation with Republicans and Democrats in the Senate to try and come forward with a bipartisan agreement. This agreement, if it had gone into law, would have been the fairest and also the toughest.
Yeah, way tougher than remain in Mexico. Yeah, letting 1.5 almost 2 million illegals in is way tougher than not letting any of them in, guys. Right. And if you think anything else, then you're just crazy. You don't understand how laws work.
What is happening at the border, and also some immigration issues that we're seeing. And let's not forget the immigration system has been broken for some decades now, and congressional Republicans.
Yeah, except for when Trump fixed it with Remain in Mexico. We don't want to talk about that, though, because Orange Man bad. He's an insurrectionist.
Choosing to put partisan politics. You heard me say at the end of my topper, basically, was they have to decide who do they work for. Who do they work for? As it relates to executive actions, look, no executive action, no matter how aggressive, can deliver the significant policy reforms and additional resources Congress can provide that Republicans have rejected. In order to actually deal with this, we need them to legislate. We need them to actually take action. So we are always evaluating our options, but no executive action could actually have done what this bipartisan agreement could have done and would have been able to put into place to deal with the challenges at the border and to actually deal with immigration.
Thank God, because I'm glad the president doesn't have the power to give himself tyrannical powers over who has access to the border. As in, no, you can't leave the country because I say so.
I'm just asking what those options are, even if they don't have the same impact that legislation obviously would. What else could the president do, given that Congress isn't going to do it?
No, I understand the question. What I want to say more broadly, there's not a executive action that actually could have done or implemented in an effective way what that bipartisan agreement could have, right? That is just a fact. There is no executive action that the president can take. Now, we're going to always constantly modify our approach to meet the ever-changing.
Well, I mean, he took executive access to ruin executive action to ruin the border, right? He rescinded all of Trump's border policies, right? He turned DPS or BP or the Border Patrol. He took them from a police agency to a migrant smuggling operation, right? I mean, he does take executive actions that have had major impacts on our border security.
Changing moments.
So all you would have to do is undo all the things he's done so far, and everything would go back to normal.
I don't have anything to confirm or preview here at this time, but if you look at the holistic, right, agreement, not one action would have done anything.
You know how many people got in under Donald Trump? 2.2 million over 4 years. That's less than 600,000 a year, okay? 5 times that many have gotten in this year alone, guys. 5 times as many has gotten in this year alone, right?
To really make the change that is meaningful change that we had needed to see at the border. And if we have anything specific on modifying anything or taking an approach to meet the changes that we're seeing, we certainly will share that.
Yes, chat is working.
I just don't have any.
Blind dude.
Oh, I forgot. Go ahead, Gabe.
What about Deuce?
We do, saying,
well, she's not
is there a plan B?
So she's punishing Ducey for asking her a tough question that made her look bad on TV. She's not even going to give Ducey a question. Fuck her. Fuck her.
Now that this is failed.
We are always going to look at our possible actions.
What's up, Gino, baby?
But I want to be really clear, right? What that negotiation legislation would have done, there's no executive action that could have touched what that piece of agreement would have been able to do. That bipartisan agreement.
We're asking you, what are the details of that?
What I'm answering for you is that we are always looking at other ways to modify actions that we've already taken.
Yeah, all you got to do is rescind them. All you have to do is rescind the executive orders you signed removing Trump's border policies, right? If you guys just go back to the Trump policies, then we're looking at 500,000 illegal crossings a year, right?
Always looking at other approaches to meet the ever-changing moment. I just don't have anything to preview for you at this time.
We've asked several times before, but given the events of this past week, does the White House now support breaking off Ukraine and Israel funding now that this bill appears to have gone?
So, look, I think they're still doing their work over at in Congress, so want to be mindful there. But the president has been very clear how important it is to get this funding, to get that national security supplemental done. He's been clear about that since October, since he put that forth to Congress. And it is important. You heard the Admiral lay out what's going on in Ukraine and why they need that funding and what they've been fighting for and how important this president continue to show his leadership.
Yeah,
how he's
the Ukrainians are fighting because they're taken off of buses at gunpoint and forced into the army, right? The Ukrainians are being murdered. There's like 1 million dead people in this war, right? Right? Like, what, and all that's going to happen is that Russia's going to get the regions that it's invaded already, right? This is all going to end the way it began.
NATO, how he's been able to bring more than 50.
Except for now there's 1 million extra dead people.
Has what it needs to fight for their democracy. That is incredibly important. And so we've talked about Israel and Israel being able to have the defenses that they need to fight against a terrorist organization. We've been clear about that. So I'm not going to get ahead of things here, but
you guys are clear. We've been clear that Israel needs to fight the terrorists, but they should also cease fire right now. And we should give billions of dollars to the terrorists. Like, you guys are talking out of both sides of your mouth.
It couldn't have not been clearer on how
No, you could absolutely be like 1,000,000,000% clear.
This national security supplemental, this emergency request that he put forth months ago.
These guys are as clear as the windows of my van that I painted black with spray paint.
And, you know, it's been said here already at the podium, you know, we believe there's bipartisan support for Ukraine. We do. We believe that still exists. We believe that...
That's why you guys are idiots.
There are congressional members on both sides of the aisle that wants to get this done.
In regards to the Her report, I know you said you can't comment because it's not out yet, but today we learned that the White House chose not to redact anything and not exert executive privilege. Why did the White House not exert?
Fuck Ukraine, exactly, blind dude.
There at the White House Council. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you, everybody.
Not even a question to Ducey. What a fucking bitch. What a dumb, incompetent, fucking moron this woman is. Right? What a piece of shit, a corporate fascist tool this woman is. I mean, she's kind of cute, but besides that, she's a dumb piece of shit, and she has absolutely no value. She's a horrible person. She might be pretty on the outside, but she's ugly on the inside. I promise you that. Yeah, guys, what's going on? So, looks like she's just going to end it without even letting Ducey take a question. That's a bunch of bullshit. But who can blame her after she got totally wrecked the last time? So, you know. This is going to make the pandemic look like a walk in the park. Oh, yeah, well, we don't know what kind of riots they have planned or what other viruses they've been cooking up in China. I heard that there's a new coronavirus that will kill your brain and kills 100% of the people that they give it to. So who knows what they got planned for this summer? I don't know. But it's going to be spicy, I can promise you that. It's going to be a good time. Watching everything just burn again, right? Because Biden has no chance of winning, so they're going to have to pull out all the stops, right? Right? Like, he's got no chance of beating Trump. Like, people are like, I'll take Trump's mean comments over Biden's incoherent gibberish. And who would blame him? Mean tweets are way better than true pressure. I see dead people shaking hands with ghosts. Yeah, hugging the flag is way better than shaking hands with ghosts, I'll tell you that. Mean tweets are better than dumb fucking actions, right? You know, I'll take a president that uses space lasers to evaporate Iranian generals over a president that cluster bombs American aid workers because he didn't protect American troops in Afghanistan, right? Right? I mean, the choice is clear. The choice is clear. Abject failure, or, you know, political turmoil. I'll take the establishment in disarray over the country in disarray any day. Yeah, I have ammo, I have emergency food, and I have somewhat of a plan. Bring it on! I love you guys. You guys are awesome. So, yeah. Biden's coming back out at 4. Apparently, we heard the other day that he was going to do a press conference. I don't think that that's going to happen. I think he's just going to come out and mumble incoherently and yell at the teleprompter. But he might answer questions. That's at 4 o'clock. as it says here. You can't really trust the White House's schedule because of, diversity. But, yeah. So we'll be back at 4, guys. I got a lot of news to cover. When Trump loses, and he will, they are already cheating with the illegals. What happens then? And then Can-Do Andrew says, tons of curfews, tons of civil disobedience. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen, guys. You can't predict, because this isn't natural, right? I can only analyze natural systems, right? When there's all these unnatural pressures, it makes everything unpredictable. There, stay calm, nothing to see here, we got it covered, propaganda is concerning. It's like an asteroid is coming, but they don't want to tell everyone because they'd freak out. The Civil War in the United States will last about a week, if it lasts that at all. What's your song? Yeah, I was planning on playing that. I'm going to play it right now. Well, when I leave. Yeah, guys. And so I'll be back here in a few hours. Actually, about 1 hour. Real quick, YouTube hates me. They stole my big channel. They won't let me get any new viewers. All these things. So support the channel if you can. I dropped some links. That would be cool. Other than that, I will see you guys in a little while. We're going to play a song now.
We interrupt this program for a special news bulletin. Step right up, got tickets on sale, and today's episode, trains coming off the rail. Watch it all burn.
Good song, Girl Gone Dog, by the way.
But don't you worry about it, you're safe at home. Every talking head will tell you everything's fine. It's the blind leading the blind. Yeah, it's a circus out here, we're wobbling on a wire. There's a lady with a big
Dr. Deborah Fauci. Oh, yeah, that's hilarious stuff.
elephants and donkeys got us jumping through. Y'all wish that I was lying, but you know that it's the truth.
All right, guys, remember, we go live with all kinds of content, and I'll be back in an hour. So I'll see you guys then. Everybody, thanks for coming by. I appreciate it. See you in an hour.